incorporate those 8 laws. They sound simple. They sound simple. You may have heard it your whole life, but I tell you, those 8 laws will make the difference of whether you live long or you live short. The things that you can grow in your garden, that you can put in your kitchen, that's where your medicine cabinet should be. Hello, I'm Walt Cross. Did you know that 33% of the ladies in the United States are on a diet at any given time, and that 25% of the men are on a diet at any given time? But the interesting thing is that 66% of those folks that have been on a diet, they gain more weight than when they started. Come join us as we look at old mountain remedies and we look at how to address healthcare problems of today, whether it's diabetes, whether it's weight loss, whether it's cardiovascular disease, or whatever it may be, but we're going to attack it from the old mountain remedies, natural remedies. Join us as we look at those old mountain remedies from diagnosis, as we look at it by health procedure, as we look at it from addressing stress, as we look at it from weight loss, how to develop an effective weight loss program. We'll do a special section as we look from the kitchen called Kitchen Medicine on how to prepare those natural remedies. We'll finally conclude with a session on how to develop a personal, effective lifestyle program for you. Come, join us. Good afternoon, y'all. Today we'd like to take a look at the immune system, and the immune system is a huge issue as we look across the world today. How do we increase that immunity of the person to fight, whether it's the coronavirus or the common cold or whatever it may be? So I'd like to take a look at that and look at how to achieve it. The first things we're going to look at is what is the immune system, things not to do, things that will take down our immune system, things to do that builds the immune system, and things to take. A lot of times when you look at health issues, people only look at signs and they look at symptoms, but they don't look at what's the problem. If you have stress, anxiety, depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, it's a brain thing. And so we have to look at what to do to take harmful things away from the brain and then give the brain what it needs to run. If you have digestive problems, IBS, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, whatever it may be, we've got to take away anything that may harm the gastrointestinal tract, but then provide the body what it needs, that gastrointestinal tract, to work like it should. So today we're doing that with the immune system. What are things not to do? What can cause harm to the immune system? And then what do we do to take care of the immune system? So the first question is, what is the immune system? The immune system distinguishes self from non-self and eliminates potentially harmful non-self molecules and cells from the body. The immune system also has the capacity to recognize and destroy abnormal cells that derive from host tissues. Any molecule capable of being recognized by the immune system is considered an antigen. Our next slide. The skin, cornea, and mucosa of the respiratory and gastrointestinal tract form a physical barrier that is the body's first line of defense. Some of these barriers also have active immune functions, and that's something that's very, very important of what's going on in that gastrointestinal tract. And as we look at MIT and various Harvard University, looking at what's going on in that gut biome. Things not to do. These are the things which are harmful to the immune system. I'll give you an example. Let's take a look at these. Let's say that heart disease, cancer, stroke, diabetes, many times in healthcare, we look at these items and say, okay, heart disease, we then dissect that down, what issues of heart disease, and then we look at the signs and symptoms and we look at how to treat those signs and symptoms. We look at cancer, what is the type of cancer and what do we do to address that, and stroke. And the United States Surgeon General took a look at one thing, just one thing that is significant to address all of these items: heart disease, cancer, stroke, diabetes, and heart attack. Let's take a look at it. Dietary excess and imbalance cause much disease and death. Diet has a vital influence on health. 5 of the top 10 killers are directly related to diet. This includes heart disease, cancer, stroke, diabetes, and atherosclerosis. Now, atherosclerosis is a condition where you have clogged arteries. So as we look here again, let's take a look again. These are things, according to the United States Surgeon General, that can make a difference. It says it is clear that diet contributes in substantial ways to the development of these diseases. So diet is a cause, and that modification of diet can contribute to their, look at this, prevention, but also control. I also see that as we apply the diet, it actually can remove those diseases. So as we look at the immune system, let's look at it from a proactive standpoint. You know, what is causing it? So things that weaken our immune system. I call these the 3 big S's. The 3 big S's. Number 1, sugar. Number 2, stress. Number 3, sleep deprivation. Let's look at sugar. Besides being a driver behind chronic health conditions like diabetes and heart disease, sugar consumption affects one's body's ability to fight off viruses or other infections in the body. White blood cells, also known as killer cells, are highly affected by sugar consumption. Sugar hinders the immune system by not allowing the white blood cells to do their job and destroy bacteria or viruses, as well as when we do not eat sugar. Now, this is Cleveland Clinic. Now, this is something very interesting. Let's take just a simple soft drink. It may be Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Mountain Dew, whatever it is. A 12-ounce soft drink. A 12-ounce soft drink will wipe out your immune system 50% for the next 4 hours. A 12-ounce soft drink, not a big one, just a 12-ounce soft drink. According to research, we find that it will wipe out the immune system 50% for the next 4 hours. Now let's add just a little Snickers bar, this big, not the big long ones that we see today, but just a little Snickers bar. Add that to the 12-ounce soft drink, and now only 1 out of 14 white cells are going to be doing their job for the next up to 4 hours. You have anesthetized them. How about a milkshake? How about a piece of cheesecake? The average size milkshake, just an average size piece of cheesecake will wipe out your immune system 92 to 93%. 92 to 93% for the next 4 hours. That is what happens with sugar. Okay, let's look at how much sugar is in, or what happens with sugar. 1 teaspoon of sugar. Well, let's look at 0 sugar to 24 teaspoons of sugar. How much bacteria is destroyed? With no sugar, we're wiping out 14 bacteria. And look what happens if you do 24 teaspoons of sugar. You only have 1 bacteria that's been wiped out. The average American eats approximately 22 teaspoons of sugar each day, 150 pounds of sugar per year, and 79 pounds of high fructose corn syrup. That's very, very bad stuff per year. Not only is high fructose corn sugar, you've got the issue of the effects of sugar on the immune system, but also a lot of that here in the United States comes from GMO, which is not very good. Now, I understand in the EU, you don't have that maybe as much issue as we have here in America. Now, this is your how much sugar is in each one of these, and people look at that, say Dr. Pepper, there's 40 grams in a 12 ounce, 64 grams in a 24 ounce, or 20 ounce, but look at Gatorade. Look at Gatorade. A lot of folks think Gatorade is very healthy. It's not a problem. The sports folks use it. It is a problem. It's a huge problem. And it also has a lot of sugar in it. Going down, Reese's Cups, Frosted Flakes, ketchup. Look at how much is in ketchup. Krispy Kreme donuts. I don't know if you have that over in Europe or not. That's a donut company here in America. And then snack cakes. The next S is sleep deprivation. Sleep provides essential support to the immune system. Getting sufficient hours of high quality sleep enables a well-balanced immune defense that features strong, innate, and adaptive immunity and less severe allergic reactions. And here's the key to sleep. Number one is we're going to take a look at sleep deprivation. At what level do we have sleep deprivation? We used to think it used to be less than 6 hours. Now they say less than 7 hours. Now we're saying possibly less than 8 hours. Lack of sleep can affect your immune system. Studies show that people who do not get quality sleep or enough sleep are more likely to get sick after being exposed to a virus, such as the common cold virus. Lack of sleep can also affect how fast you recover if you do get sick. So we want to look at three things here about sleep. Number one, is there enough sleep? So how much sleep do you need that you don't have sleep deprivation? Definitely not less than 7 hours. Harvard University, it looks more like we're looking at 8 hours. But we find in research we don't want more than 9 hours. So the best window of sleep is 8 to 9 hours. The next thing we look at, so number one is how many hours are you getting? Number two, we're looking at what time are you going to bed? Harvard University has found the best time to go to bed for the adult is by 9 o'clock at night. 9 o'clock at night. See, between 9 and 10 o'clock, the brain is doing a deep clean of the brain. It's the brain's lymphatic system. It's called the glymphatic system. So from 9 to 10, you do a deep clean. From 10 to midnight, you do a thorough clean, but you have to be asleep. And we've learned that the hours before midnight are worth twice the hours after midnight. So if you get 3 hours of sleep before midnight, it's like getting 6 hours of sleep after night. So number one, how many hours of sleep you're getting? Best is 8 to 9 hours. Number two, are you getting to sleep by 9 o'clock, getting those hours before midnight? And number three, the third thing we want to look at is, do you have contiguous sleep? Are you getting the REM sleep? Are you getting those 4 levels of sleep? Are you waking up because you have prostate problems and you're waking up 5, 6 times a night to go to the bathroom? Or ladies, are you waking up at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning and you can't go back to sleep because you're worrying about your kids, you're worrying about finances, you're worried about whatever? Well, you're not getting that good long sleep. And so we need that contiguous sleep. Let's take a look at the next area. Okay, stress. That's the third S. First S was sugar. Number 2S was what? Sleep. And number 3 is stress. I don't know what it is in your neck of the woods, but here stress is the number one diagnosis in the United States. Many of today's illnesses and diseases are triggered by chronic stress, which depresses the immune system and wreaks havoc on every organ system in the body. When we have stress, we dump significant nutrients. We're dumping vitamin C, we're dumping zinc, we're dumping vitamin E, things that are very important to be able to help us deal with the immune issue. Exactly how stress contributes to disease is a question of particular interest to researchers. There are 2 likely pathways. One is behavioral. People under stress sleep poorly and are less likely to exercise. They adopt poor eating habits. They smoke more if they're a smoker and don't comply with medical treatment. Stress also triggers a response by the body's endocrine system, which releases hormones that influence multiple other biological systems, including the immune system. Next. The other things which is very interesting is we find that just 1 minute of anger can suppress your immune system for 6 hours. Just 1 minute of anger can suppress your immune system for up to 6 hours. Now, what about stress? Recently, I was giving this lecture with a friend of mine who is a physician, and and he's a neurologist, and as he was speaking, I asked him about this 1 minute of anger. Can we replace anger for the word stress in the brain? He said, absolutely. There's a very similar situation with stress or with anger. So we could change that to 1 minute of stress can suppress your immune system for how long? 6 hours. We've actually found, Harvard has found that if you have sleep deprivation, that also can suppress your immune system for up to 6 hours. So as we look at things not to do, again, you want to take the cause, the cure is in the cause. We're looking at sugar, sleep deprivation, stress. We're also going to look at a poor diet, vitamin D deficiency, alcohol, obesity, smoking, dehydration, and internet addiction. Internet addiction, that's very, very interesting. So the next one we're going to look at is a poor diet. Diets that are limited in variety and lower in nutrients. So there's two things we want to look at here. Do you have a whole food, plant-based diet that has a lot of nutrients, or is it a diet that is processed foods? The other thing is it's got to be a variety. Many times people will, they'll eat same old, even a whole food plant-based diet. It has to have variety because a banana, an orange, a grapefruit, or broccoli, cauliflower, or a potato, they all have different nutrients. And so we have to have different, it's like trying to have an orchestra and all you have is a trumpet and a violin and a timpani. You're going to have many more instruments to have a good orchestra. We've got to have that orchestra of food in order to have good nutrition. Again, diets are limited in variety and lower in nutrition, such as, if we can bring that back up a little bigger there, consisting primarily of ultra-processed foods can negatively affect a healthy immune system. It is also believed that a Western diet high in refined sugar and red meat and low in, what's the next one? What do you think it is? Fruits and vegetables. That's the key. Fruits and vegetables can promote disturbances if it's low in that. So we need a lot of fruits and vegetables. You know, we used to say, well, we need 5 servings of fruits and vegetables. Then it went to 6 servings of fruits and vegetables. And now we're looking at 9 servings of fruits and vegetables. Now we're seeing nutritionists say, no, we need probably 12 or 13 servings of fruits and vegetables throughout the day. So let's continue looking here. Let's go back one slide if we can. Let's see here. Fruits and vegetables can promote disturbances. If you don't have it, adequate fruits and vegetables, it can promote disturbances in a healthy intestinal microorganisms, resulting in chronic inflammation of the gut and associated suppressed immunity. So again, we need those fruits and the vegetables in order to have a good immune system. The next item. Okay, vitamin D deficiency. That's a huge one. And so vitamin D is huge. It's critical to have vitamin D, good vitamin D. And the question is, how much vitamin D do we take a day? Or what's my blood level? We'll talk about that. So let's look here. Vitamin D deficiency is associated with increased immunity and an increased susceptibility to infection. Deficiency, I'm sorry, let me read this correctly. Deficiency in vitamin D, that means a low vitamin D level. Normal vitamin D is 30 to 100. A deficiency in vitamin D is associated with increased autoimmunity and an increased susceptibility to infection. Research shows that vitamin D plays an important role in immune function, and a deficiency in it is shown to increase one's susceptibility to infection. So you want that good level of vitamin D in your blood. It's not how much you take a day, it's what is your blood level. Vitamin D deficiencies can mean your immune system is more vulnerable. So you've got to have a good vitamin D level. Low levels of vitamin D have been associated with frequent infections. Now, look at this, y'all. In 2009, the National Institute of Health warned that low vitamin D levels are associated with frequent colds and influenza. Alcohol. Alcohol compromises the body's immune system and increases the risk of adverse health outcomes, according to the World Health Organization. Also, when you drink alcohol, you make decisions also that aren't good decisions that make you more prone to infections or other problems. Alcohol can trigger inflammation in the gut and destroy the microorganisms that live in the intestines and maintain immune system health. And something we're learning more and more about is the immune system is based on what is going on in the gut, what's going on in the colon. If you have poor gut performance, it affects inflammation. That inflammation affects the immune system. The next thing, obesity, things not to do, being outside ideal body weight. Obesity, like other states of malnutrition. No, wait a minute, Walt. You're saying that a person who's obese is malnourished? Very so. Many times I work with people who are 400, 500, near 600 pounds. They all eat the same things. They're eating hamburgers, hot dogs, pizza, potato chips, drinking soft drinks. They're eating calories, what we call empty calories, but it is not nutrition dense. It doesn't have the nutrients in it. So it's just calorie dense. Obesity, like other states of malnutrition, is known to impair the immune function after leukocyte counts, as altering leukocyte accounts, as well as cell-mediated immune responses. So if the more we're outside ideal body weight, the more prone to having poor immune response. Another one that we're learning more and more about, and it's definitely not like trying to teach this back in the 70s and the 80s. Smoking harms the immune system and can make the body less successful at fighting disease. We know there's a lot of issues with smoking, from your cancers, your heart disease. Smoking also takes out your immune system. Next. Dehydration. A lot of folks don't realize the importance of this guy right here. Water is so important to run the body, and you don't want to drink all of this at once. You want to take a sip about 3 to 4 times every half hour, outside of 15 minutes before you eat. When you eat, to an hour after you eat, you don't want to drink anything because that affects digestion. But the rest of the day, all you're doing, that amount every 15 to about 3 to 4 times every half hour. And what happens is if you drink more than 4 ounces, it's 3, 4, 5, depending on which author you read in physiology, but we'll say 4 ounces as an average. You have something called free flow. And what happens is that water you just drank from that whole glass, that's going on to the kidneys, you're losing that, and you're not having good saturation, and you're still going to have issues of dehydration. Let's bring this up here. So dehydration, significant positive correlations were found between severity of dehydration and changing ratios. This is issues in labs, IgA, IgG, IgM, C3, C4, ROS production capabilities, whereas no significant association was seen in PA and or serum SOD activity. So here we have science that is proving the effects on dehydration and the immune system. We'll continue on here. These results suggest that dehydration resulted in immunosuppression, including decreased neutrophil function. And so when we look at this lady here, she's drinking a Pepsi. Yes, she's drinking the Pepsi in place of the water, but what also is she having that Pepsi that's affecting her hydration? Yes, that's right. It's caffeine. And that caffeine is a diuretic. And so she's going to lose even more water because that soft drink right there she's drinking is a diuretic. Now, this is an interesting one. This is new information that we're starting to look at. Not at all surprising, but we're starting to see the science and research being done in this area of internet addiction. I don't know what it's like over in your area, but it is huge in America. I was doing some research here just recently, and I saw that the average youth in the United States is spending at least 10 hours a day on their cell phone, just as those folks right there in the picture. The average youth in the United States, according to this research just came out, are spending at least 10 hours a day on their cell phone. What's it say? Internet addiction can damage immune function. How is that? People with excessive internet use have 30% more cold and flu symptoms than those with less problematic internet uses. It's not just the phone. It can be on the computer. It can be wherever. Those who spend excessive time on the internet tend to have greater sleep deprivation. The problem is they're not sleeping. They're on the internet. Worse eating habits and a less healthy diet. They're just eating junk food instead of sitting down at a table with that family unit, eating good, healthy food. They're engaged in less exercise because they don't take time for exercise. They're spending their time on the internet. And if they do smoke and drink, they tend to smoke and drink alcohol more. Now, again, here's the things not to do. Take these guys away, and many times the problem is what is the cause? If you remove the cause, then many times you don't have the problem. If you're squalling your tires, if you run up and down rough roads real hard, your car's going to wear out faster. Take care of your car, take care of your body. Again, things not to do: sugar, have sleep deprivation. You can't just plumb get rid of stress, but you can manage it and try to keep that at a lower level. You got to eat a good, healthy diet. That refined food is going to take down your immune system. And make sure you have adequate, you don't have a vitamin D deficiency, alcohol, obesity, smoking, dehydration, and internet addiction. Those are things that are going to take out your immune system. Those are major items in the United States that we see taking out the immune system. Okay, now we're going to take a look at what do we need to do. What are things that we need to do to help boost the immune system proactively? Number one, prayer, WHO's recommendations, a healthy diet, and hydrotherapy. So let's take a look at this. Prayer is powerful. I'm not going to read Psalms 1 and Psalms 103, but I encourage you to write those down. Psalms 91, and Psalms 103, write those down. And after this program, read those. It's amazing how important they are to our immune system. Prayer, that's where the power comes from God. The World Health Organization, this is what they recommended a year ago right now. A year ago, actually, let me correct that. One item was changed from a year ago right now, but this is what they were recommending last year. I'll explain the 1 year ago right now. Wash your hands regularly with soap, water. And as we look at pathogens, some pathogens are killed better in soap and water, and some pathogens are killed better with alcohol, just depending on the pathogen. But wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. I would have my staff washing their hands when they got to work, before they did patient care, after patient care. If you're doing eye drops in one eye, you washed your hands before one eye. Before you did the eye drop in one eye, you went and washed the hands again before you put the eye drop in the next eye. You washed your hands before you ate, after you ate, before you you treated a patient, after you treated a patient. We were constantly washing hands for universal precautions. The next item here is practice respiratory hygiene. And it says cover your nose and mouth when coughing. And how do you do that? Well, we've learned during this pandemic, we don't even want to go into our elbow or inside our arm here, because we're bumping elbows. So it's better to lean over and cough into your shoulder if you're going to do that. The other is throw tissue into a closed bin. Think about when we were children. If you had kind of a snotty nose, your daddy or your granddaddy pull out his handkerchief and rub your little snotty nose, and go over to your brother's little snotty nose and your sister and maybe rub his nose too and stick it back in the pocket. That was huge for growing pathogens. It's better not to use a Kleenex. Use something that's disposable, throw it into a closed bin. Again, wash hands when you're doing respiratory hygiene. WHO says maintain social distancing, especially if coughing or fever. This time, 1 year ago, March a year ago, WHO only said 3 feet and 1 meter. Later on in the year, they went to 2 meters and 6 feet. But when the pandemic started, the only recommendation was 1 meter, 3 feet. Avoid touching your eyes, mouth, and nose. That is how pathogens get in. And so you want to be careful not rubbing your nose and your mouth and eyes and whatever. And one of the challenges that I'm seeing with masks, as people are wearing masks, They're constantly, having problems and rubbing their nose. It irritates them, and so they're having more hand contact without washing them up to this region of the face, and that can be a challenge. Mask and personal protective equipment if you're sick, according to WHO, caring for someone who is sick in healthcare settings. If you're unwell, if you're sick, stay at home. If you have a fever, cough, or difficulty breathing, seek early medical care. The next item. Go on to the next one. We'll go on to the next one on this here. All right, a healthy diet. A balanced diet consisting of a range of vitamins and minerals most effectively primes the body to fight infection and disease. A healthy diet, according to Harvard School of Medicine, a balanced diet consisting of a range of vitamins and minerals. Again, it needs to be whole food, plant-based, not refined foods, also with a large variety that we can have those different vitamins and minerals, most effectively primes the body to fight what? Infection and disease. Eat enough nutrients as part of a varied diet. Again, here's Harvard saying a varied diet, not just same-o, is required for the health and function of all cells, including immune cells. So you need enough nutrients, a diet that, again, is going to be your best diet that has the most nutrition to fight infection is that whole food, plant-based diet. Your fruit, your vegetables, your nuts, your seeds, your grains. That's where you're going to get your most nutrients, and not be processed. Hydrotherapy. A cold shower is amazing on building the immune system. As you take a shower, it's good to take a cold shower at the end. That's going to close the pores. It's also going to build your immune system. We'll continue. These are just a list of a number of things that taking a cold shower can benefit. We won't take the time now, from improving sleep to immune system, but continue. A sauna. Saunas are also very good for building the immune system, especially if you're doing from a hot shower to a sauna for about 16 minutes. Then go back to the shower with about 2 minutes of hot, turn it to cold about 30 seconds, go back to the sauna for about 12 minutes, then go back to the shower with warm water for about 2 minutes, then go back to a 30-second cold, then come back and go 8 minutes, and then come back and get your cold shower and finish with cold, and then get in bed for about 2 hours. Again, the sauna timing is about 18 minutes, 12 minutes, and 8 minutes. And then the shower timing is your first shower is going to be only warm, but the next showers are going to be, say, about 2 minutes of hot and then end with 30 seconds of cold. And that will increase the white cell count. We'll go to the next one. That's kind of a new looking sauna. The next one's a few years ago. This is what saunas used to look like. It's been around for a long time. Fever treatments are amazing. One of the best tools I found in increasing the immune system, white count. I had read from Loma Linda Medical School that a fever treatment could increase the white count 7-fold. I didn't believe it, so I had our nurses draw labs, and sure enough, it peaked at 7-fold in a 5-hour time frame with all of our patients. And it's a treatment of where you put the patient in the bathtub, you put cold on their head, and the water temp is between 105, 106. You want that oral temp to come up to about 102 to 104.0. You maintain that temperature, oral temp, for 102 to 104 for 30 minutes. And then you pour that ice water down the back of their neck, give them a little cold shower, put them in bed for 2 hours. It's phenomenal. White count doesn't come back to normal for about 3 days, according to Dr. Harold Cherney's research. This is a fever treatment by the United States Navy years ago. I remember I got out of school, and actually I was still in school, and this old nurse told me, he was in his 90s. He said, "Walt, I need to tell you something that you may come into contact with later." He said, during the pandemic of 1918, the Spanish flu, we were losing a lot of soldiers, and those soldiers were dying because of the flu. And finally, one thing was used that was effective in saving them. And he said it was the fever treatment. And he said, if we ever have a pandemic like that again, you might need to know that information. They use hot and cold fomentations. They also used fever treatments. If you see a person, let's pull up this slide here. When you can either just get in the bed and get in the covers, but or you can tighten people up really good. If you ever do that, put a person up like a mummy here. Don't leave them. Stay by them, because when they wake up, they may wake up and try to get up, and they're all bundled up. They could fall, break a hip or shoulder, bust their head. So stay with them if you do bundle them up like this. A lot of times we just put them in the bed, cover them up good, and that's it. So that was a fever treatment. And this is a fomentation. And the fomentation is mostly what this old nurse talked about, was using the fomentation to build the immune system. They did the fever treatments, but this is the big one that worked. And what you're doing here is you're taking a hot towel, you're putting a barrier towel that on top of the chest, of the bare chest, put this hot towel on there on top so you don't burn the person. And so you put the barrier towel to protect them. Then you put another blanket on top of them, on top of that blue towel. Leave it there for 3 minutes. Pull it off. Take I use a little bowl of ice water, and you can either just lay a cold towel on them for 1 minute, or I use a bowl of ice water with a washcloth, rub it real good, which is called a cold mist and friction, for about 30 seconds. Dry it off. Put another hot towel. So you're doing 3 minutes hot, either 1 minute or 30 seconds cold. Do that 7 times. You can do it 2 or 3 times a day. Very, very effective on building the immune system. You can also do it to the chest and the back, and that's a revulsive treatment. And so you're going back and forth, lifting the person up, doing their back, laying back down, and it's called the revulsive treatment using a fomentation. Very, very effective for pneumonia. It will take care of pneumonia. We use it for pandemics such as we're dealing with now. I've used it with a lot of folks who've had the coronavirus and have had respiratory breathing problems or respiratory problems. Using a hot contrast shower, bathing, or fomentations can powerfully optimize immune function and greatly stimulate antibody productions against viral and other forms of infection. In the 1918 Spanish influenza, there was one of the deadliest pandemics in this country has ever faced, yet it wasn't without hope. Every other medical system to avail little, but a simple treatment using water was found to be very successful in treating the deadly flu. It was called the fomentation treatment, and that's what we just looked at, was that hot fomentation that lady was putting on the child. So why does the fomentation treatment work? The application of heat to the skin draws the blood to the surface. And see, we're dealing with a blood issue. That's what we're after. Blood health is in the blood, in the flow of the blood. The application of heat to the skin draws the blood to the surface and away from the internal organs. Heat relaxes the muscles and decreases pain and inflammation. Increased blood flow to the area stimulates white blood cells production and action. The sweating caused by the heat increases the body's ability to eliminate body waste and toxins in the system. The treatment calms and soothes the nerves. Now, this treatment was used back in the Spanish flu in the United States in a state called Tennessee, in a little town called Collegedale, Tennessee, which is outside of Chattanooga. There was a new college that had just started, and the girls had a dormitory, but the boys were still living in tents. That October of 1918, there was, I believe it was either 13 or 15 inches. I'm pretty sure it was 13 inches of snow fell in October, which is quite a bit of snow for October in that part of the country. And the students started getting the Spanish flu. They had just gotten a nurse from a hospital up in Ohio that had just graduated from nursing school. And he started treating these students who had the Spanish flu with hot fomentations, hot and cold fomentation. He got an assistant, and they treated every one of these students. Not one student in this whole college died of the Spanish. By the time he finished, there was another college over in Alabama, that Huntsville, Alabama had just started. They also were getting the Spanish flu. So he and his assistant traveled over to Huntsville, Alabama, and started treating all those students, which was called Oakwood College. He started treating those students who had the influenza. Not one student died. By this time, the influenza had come back to Chattanooga, to Collegedale, and he and his assistant went back to Collegedale and started treating the students on that second wave of the Spanish flu. This time, his assistant did get the flu, and his assistant died because he wasn't there to take care of his assistant. Fortunately, he made it through, continued treating people. The only one who died at either one of those schools with the Spanish flu was actually his assistant. Everyone else survived. Things to do. We looked at prayer, WHO recommendations, a healthy diet, and hydrotherapy. Very, very effective on addressing proactively the immune system. Now, what about things to take? Is there things that we can do that can help us? Vitamin D, garlic, onions, oil of oregano, zinc, vitamin C, vitamin B6, vitamin E, elderberry, astragalus, echinacea, iodine, and NAC. We'll look at these individually. Let's start with vitamin D. Vitamin D helps our immune system stay balanced during the cold and flu season and serve as a pharmacy resource. There are vitamin D receptors and there are vitamin D receptors and activating enzymes on the surface of all white blood cells. The role that vitamin D plays in keeping the immune system healthy is very complex because the immune system has to be perfectly balanced. If there is too much stimulation, the autoimmune disease can set in. If there's not enough immune system activity, frequent infections occur. Now, this is very important about vitamin D. Take notes here. Vitamin D normal range in the United States is a blood level of 30 to 100. 30 to 100. The key is what is the blood level, not how much you take a day. I have a friend, he's a physician. He says all you need is 5,000 IUs a day and you'll be perfectly fine. Here's an example. I had a lady come in. She had a vitamin D blood level of 12. A vitamin D blood level of 12. Now, the normal range is 30 to 100 according to the lab. So she's well below the normal range. Another key factor here is she is Caucasian. We know that the darker the skin, the more sun it takes. When I was in Africa last time, there was a physician I took with us. He was a black physician out of South Georgia that had started the medical school in Tallahassee, Florida. Taught there a number of years, taught medical school. I took him with me to Africa this last time as we were setting up a program there for the new medical school in Kigali. And he's going to do some teaching there. And as he talked to the students, he said, your skin and my skin has sunglasses on it. Walt's skin does not. It takes 6 times more sunshine to get the same level of vitamin D as it does Walt because we have sunglasses on our skin. Our skin is darker, he said. So this lady is Caucasian. She doesn't have the sunglasses on the skin. Plus, she works in landscaping outside all day, all year long. Her vitamin D level is 12. She takes 5,000 IUs a day. So something's going on here. So I had her do 5,000 IUs twice a day. It went from 12 to 17. Still way below normal. I then called a buddy of mine who's a surgeon up in DC that does a lot with vitamin D in his own personal practice. And I said, what do you recommend? He says, do my protocol 20,000 twice a day, 20,000 twice a day. And we were testing this lady every 3 months. So we gave plenty of time for change. At the end of 3 months, 20,000 IUs twice a day, she was only at 24, still below the 30. And so we're trying to figure out what is it? She's taking 20,000 twice a day. She's got Caucasian skin. She's outside all day long, but she's only got a 24. Shortly thereafter, a study came out and it said that if you don't have enough magnesium, it can affect the production of vitamin D. So I encouraged her to take a magnesium. And the next blood draw, her blood level was at 97. So we learned in this case, which we've learned in other cases, it is not how much you take a day, it's what is the blood level. Now the normal is 30 to 100. But as I was speaking with Dr. Khanna a few weeks ago, teaching this exact same class to a group of people, Dr. Khanna, who's a neurologist, told the people out there he wants every one of his patients at least at 60, which is well above 30, for that neurological function. For the brain to do its job, your body blood level has to have, according to his research, at least a 60 level vitamin D. I heard a physician just since then, he says he wants his patients at 80 to do what needs to happen in the body. If you have osteoporosis, if you want to build your immune system, I'd recommend 90 to 100. 100 is fully safe. 90 to 100, you're going to have a much better immune system and better job with osteoporosis. And it's not just 30 versus 100, it's the same equal. No, the higher you are up the number, the more effective the body functions. Your your HDL has a direct relationship with your vitamin D. We find that boys are more prone to girls with having autism. And Harvard University found the reason: vitamin D level. Little boys, if they have a low vitamin D level, they're less prone to be able to make the serotonin that's needed. The little girl has, if she has the same amount of vitamin D the little boy has, she has more estrogen than the boy does, and that level of estrogen can develop the serotonin needed to help prevent the autism. And according to Harvard, that's why boys are more prone to autism than girls. Let's look at the next one. Garlic. Garlic is huge. Allicin is a component in garlic. Allicin is an active ingredient of garlic that has antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral, and antiprotozoal activity. Allicin exhibits various biological properties like antimicrobial, anti-cancer, antioxidant, immunomodulatory, anti-inflammatory, hypoglycemic, and cardiovascular effects. And the allicin, actually, I get it out of Europe. The garlic is from Spain, and it's very, very powerful. We use it for wiping out MRSA. We use it for H. pylori. We use it for C. diff. We use it a lot during the coronavirus for people who are really sick with the coronavirus, because the allicin from the garlic is again antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, antimicrobial, antiparasitic. So if you got a virus, it's a great tool to wipe out that virus. When you're using antibiotics, it's only going to do a bacterial issue. It's not going to work on a virus. Garlic, just eating garlic. Garlic appears to enhance the functioning of the immune system by stimulating certain cell types, such as macrophages, lymphocytes, natural killer cells, dendritic cells, and eosinophils by mechanisms including modulation of cytokine secretion, immunoglobulin production, phagocytosis, and macrophage activity. And so activation. So garlic builds that immune system as we consume just eating garlic in your food. It's amazing how garlic helps to build the immune system. Onions, very similar to garlic, is an immune boosting food rich in fructans. And so you're eating food with garlic, you're eating food with onions, that's going to build your immune system. Olive oregano, that's huge. I like allicin and I like olive oregano. Those are my two big weapons. I use allicin as overall, just to keep my immune system up. But if I feel like I'm starting to catch something, it's like a 357 Magnum. It's right there to knock out whatever's about to bite you. Oregano oil is a powerful plant-derived essential oil that may rival antibiotics when it comes to treating or preventing various infections. So I'll take olive oregano, which is an essential oil. Do not use it neat. That means just by itself. I do a 3-to-1 ratio: olive oregano and olive oil. And then I'll take the combination of that anytime I feel like I'm starting to get stuffy nose, my throat, or whatever. And that normally knocks it out. If I feel like I still have it 2 hours later, I'll do it 2 hours later. It's gone. Literally, I've woke up more than once in the middle of the night feeling like I was catching something. My bottle at the house had run out. I would get up, drive in off the mountain into work, which is 30 some minutes away, get a bottle at work, take it back, get in bed, go back to sleep. Because I know if I wait till the next morning, whatever's trying to get me is going to get me. And it's much better I go on, let's deal with it now. And it works very, very well. Let's go back to that one last slide there. If we can go back one. Oregano oil contains properties that are antibacterial, antiviral, and antifungal. So if you've got a mold issue, the black mold, I don't know if you have that over there, but the oil of oregano is a great tool for that. But again, look at here. You've got the oil of oregano. It's antibacterial, so it's going to kill bacterial issues, but it's going to kill viruses. And that's what we're looking for in viral infections. And so it's very broad spectrum. So it's much wider than an antibiotic because it's going to kill the bacteria issues, but it's going to kill viral issues. It's going to kill fungal issues. The next one, I believe it was zinc. It was? Yes, zinc. And we've heard a lot about zinc today. Zinc is a mineral that's important to the body in many ways. Zinc keeps the immune system strong, helps heal wounds, and supports normal growth. One thing about zinc, if you do take the zinc, a lot of folks are taking 50 milligrams of zinc right now. Some people are taking 100. There's a physician not far from me. He's recommending over 200 a day, and that's a lot, milligrams that is. But if you do take the zinc, I encourage you to take copper with it because it does deplete the body of copper. You're going to need 3 to 5 milligrams of copper if you take much zinc. Vitamin C is one of the largest immune system boosters of all. In fact, vitamin C, the lack of vitamin C can even make you more prone to getting sick. So it's not just taking it, it's if you're low in it, it makes you prone to getting sick. Foods rich in guava, kiwi fruit. Look at this, strawberry caps. I was at a seminar once. The instructor was the nutritionist for the United States Navy SEALs, and that's a naval, our top guys out there in the military or Navy SEALs, and she said that the cap of a strawberry, just that little green cap that you usually take off and throw away, she said it has more vitamin C than an orange. So let's say you're making a smoothie in your blender, you throw in 6 to 8 strawberries. That is more vitamin C than 6 to 8 oranges. So strawberry caps are a great source of vitamin C. Oranges, broccoli, kale are very good in vitamin C. Daily intake of vitamin C is essential for good health because your body doesn't produce or store it. So we need vitamin C on a daily basis. Again, our body doesn't produce it and we don't store it. So we need to have that daily dose of vitamin C. What's your great source here? Look at your food here. Your food is a great source of vitamin C. That's Cleveland Clinic. Very good resource there. Vitamin B6 is vital to supporting biochemical reactions in the immune system. Vitamin B6 is found in green vegetables and chickpeas. Again, Cleveland Clinic. Vitamin E, again, another one that's wiped out with stress. Vitamin E is a powerful antioxidant that helps the body fight off infection. Foods rich in vitamin E include nuts, seeds, and spinach. Again, Cleveland Clinic. But let me warn you, take note here. If you're using almonds or nuts for vitamin E or any food that is high in vitamin E, do not freeze the food. Do not freeze the food. What happens is when you freeze food which is high in vitamin E, you kill the vitamin E. So you don't want to. We used to buy our almonds and put them in the freezer. We'd buy like 25 pounds at a time. When I read this research, we quit doing that. So if you're after food to keep that high vitamin E, don't freeze it because you're going to kill that vitamin E. Elderberries. Elderberries are amazing. I'm sure they grow over in your neck of the woods. Elderberries inhibit the early stages of an infection by blocking key viral proteins responsible for both the viral attachment and entry into the host cell. The phytochemicals from the elderberry juice have been shown to be effective at stopping the virus infecting the cells. However, to the surprise of the researchers, they were even more effective at inhibiting viral propagation at later stages of the influenza cycle when the cells had already been infected with the virus. And that's something they were trying to figure out very early with the coronavirus. How can we stop the attachment in the lungs? Elderberry helps with that process. And then this information is coming out of the University of Sydney. This observation was quite surprising and rather significant because blocking the viral cycle at several stages has a higher chance of inhibiting the viral infection. Astragalus. The broad array of immune-stimulating characteristics of astragalus has been widely used in treating patients with both acute and chronic infections, including viral myocarditis and viral hepatitis. Astragalus has been demonstrated immune potentiating effects in humans, animals, and in vitro studies, and is often used as an adjunct therapy to HIV positive persons and those with AIDS. So astragalus is very, very good for building the immune system. And here's some daily dosing that you may want to take a look at. Okay, the next one. Echinacea. That's a huge one. Echinacea is amazing, and we're talking about y'all here in Europe. Echinacea preparations are commonly given in Europe for the prophylaxis or treatment of bacterial and viral infections and as an adjunct treatment of more severe infections. Echinacea extracts are commonly used to treat upper respiratory infections, influenza-like infections, and are reported to significantly reduce the symptoms accompanying the common cold. Now, there is a concern that you want to take a look here in Echinacea. Echinacea and golden seal, another great herb that I enjoy using, those two herbs, Echinacea and golden seal, which is used for the immune system, don't use it more than 2 weeks. On to, off to, on to, off to, because let's say you're taking Cipro. You're not going to take Cipro, an antibiotic, for 6 months, 12 months, whatever. You can take it only so long and it's not going to work. Well, Echinacea is one of those. Like oil of oregano, you can take on for a long period of time. The allicin, the garlic, you can take a long time. The vitamin C you can take for a long time, and it doesn't decrease in its effectiveness. Echinacea does decrease in its effectiveness when used, say 2 weeks, definitely no more than 4 weeks. So you want to pulse it. Use it for 2 weeks. Don't use it for 2 weeks. Use it for 2 weeks. Don't use it for 2 weeks. And it's interesting as I speak with physicians in Europe who are from Europe, they tell me in medical school they learned these herbs in medical school, years ago, because maybe they didn't have the funds for those pharmaceuticals, and they were taught to use the herbs. And the herbs are tremendous in their effect. Iodine is something that we're seeing come back out of the woodwork. Iodine, a natural antiviral, antifungal, and antibiotic. You want the potassium iodide, potassium iodine. It's the Lugol type solution. Potassium iodide, potassium iodine. Iodine was the most effective agent for killing viruses, especially influenza viruses. Aerosol iodine was found to kill viruses in spray mists, and solutions of iodine were equally effective. You can also take it just as a PO by mouth and time released or whatever, and you're still going to have good results. NAC, that's kind of a new one. It looks like in America, I just got word last week before last, it was last week. I just got word last week that it looks like FDA is going to make NAC a drug. Therefore, you may see a lot of the supplement companies not carrying it anymore because it was so effective in fighting the coronavirus. The drug companies are wanting to now classify it as a drug so they can keep it. And because this bottle right here of NAC has a retail value of around $30. And if you get it at the pharmacy, it is $300 and some dollars. It's 10 times more buying it through the pharmaceutical companies versus your local health food store. NAC has shown promise in the treatment of more acute conditions and infections such as influenza and pneumonia, particularly in the elderly. In a 6-month placebo-controlled study, clinical study, elderly subjects received 600 milligrams of NAC, or they call NAC, daily, experienced significant fewer influenza-like episodes and days in bed than did the placebo group. In addition, significantly fewer of the NAC group developed symptoms despite the rate of infection between both groups being the same. So we may see that going out of our hands here in the United States and having to get a prescription for that. This is the last item, rocket fuel. Get out your pen and paper. I like rocket fuel. Very, very effective. 5 to 10 cloves of garlic, an onion, half of an onion, ginger, a piece of ginger about the size of your thumb. You're going to put this in a blender. Lemon juice, the juice of 2 lemons, 2 tablespoons of honey, and cayenne pepper, somewhere between 1/8 and 1/2 teaspoon of the cayenne pepper. You can put some elderberry syrup, about a tablespoon. I like putting the Allimed in there, a tablespoon of the Allimed. That's a lot. Let's see, it takes 24 cloves of garlic to make 1 drop of Allimed, or that's Allicin. It takes 2,140 cloves of garlic to make 1 teaspoon, and here we're using a whole tablespoon. So it's powerful stuff, a lot of garlic in there. Add warm water to net 1 quart, blend it up, drink it all in 30 to 60 minutes. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is the last slide. Things to take: D, garlic, onions, olive of oregano, zinc, vitamin C, B12, vitamin E, elderberry, astragalus, echinacea, iodine, or NAC. You know, as we look at this program, how to build the immune system, we've looked at what is the immune system. We've looked at what can take down the immune system, what things we need to do, and what we need to take. I encourage you to look at health concerns proactively. Don't get sick and then say, oh, I'm going to have to take care of it. It's kind of like a car. My daddy used to tell me, I'm just an old country boy, grew up on a farm when I was a boy. And my dad, he said, if you wreck your car, even though you take it, you can get it fixed, it's still a wrecked car. He says, a wrecked car is always a wrecked car. He says, a hurt body is always a hurt body. He says, you break your back, you got a broke back. And you're going, they can operate on it, but you still had a broke back. If you can prevent from getting sick, it is much better than getting sick and trying to do something to get rid of the sickness. Be proactive in your health issues with your immune system. It's tremendous. I would much rather prevent cancer through a good immune system than to get cancer and now play Russian roulette trying to get rid of cancer. So the biggest thing is God gave us an immune system. Keep that immune system strong. Don't do the things like the sugar and the refined sugar and the lack of sleep and the stress and all those items we looked at, the internet and all those things that can take down our immune system. That's where we need to focus. Yes, we can look at the vitamin D and the garlic and the onions and the olive oregano and the zinc and those things that can build the immune system, or if we get sick, we can take it to fight it. The biggest thing is keep your immune system up. Those things that take down the immune system, the alcohol, the smoking, the lack of exercise, and the lack of sleep, and the dehydration. Take care of your body proactively, and that way you don't even have to worry about catching some type of infection. Shall we pray? Our dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for your love and your care again. We thank you for your forgiveness. And as we do get sick, you've given us ways to address it, but help us to apply lifestyles that will be more proactive so we don't get sick to start with. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.